I'm Deanzelinsky, and this is the podcast. Okay, a little different today. I have a new co-host subbing in, and her name is Jennifer.
How's it going? I'm super honored to be here.
Oh, great. I'm honored to have you. I'll do a little setup.
Okay.
I met Jennifer at a UFC fight.
You did?
When she was about 19 years old.
Yeah.
And she was the ring girl. I don't know what I was doing at a UFC fight, but this was when UFC fight was relatively new and not that popular. Mm-hmm. And somehow I ended up at a UFC fight somewhere in Chicago area. And there's this ring girl walking around in shorts, ring, and it was Jennifer.
It was me. Yeah.
And that's when I first met Jennifer.
Yeah. I was 19, and my dad had taken me to some also ring fight, right, in Indiana somewhere. And I had gotten the business card of the guy in charge, and my dad was like, "Oh, my daughter wants to be in the ring, doing the ring thing."
Good thing. Yeah,
whatever.
Just doing the ring thing.
I just wanted to walk around with the number, and I did it, and then ended up going to another fight, and I was really stoked about it, and showed up and walked around in the circle, and then got out of the ring, and some guy walked up to me wearing a cowboy hat, and that was you.
Oh, wow. Was it white?
I think it might have been white.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You look very stylish, and your hair was a bit longer than it is now.
A little fuller.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember exactly what you said when you approached me. I don't remember. Do you?
I don't know, but I remember seeing you and I said, that girl can sell guitars.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And then I think you just got my information, and then we didn't talk for maybe like over a year, right? Because you were producing your new guitar line at the time. And
it turns out Jennifer she wasn't a ring girl. She's actually a musician, a great musician, a guitar player, played in a band, and had a deal with Court Guitars at the time.
I did. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we did. We were endorsed by them at the time. We were a metal band. So It would have been good to be endorsed by your guitars, but we were stoked about Court at the time.
Right. And we talked about that, but I have a whole history with Court because I flew over there in 1983 or 84 and taught them how to build guitars, and they built my guitars for many years when nobody knew what Court was.
Okay.
So I have a love-hate relationship with the Court factory.
Yeah. So funny.
Right. And the owner of the Court, I don't know if I said this in a previous podcast, the owner of Court was an American guy, even though it's a Korean factory. Mm-hmm. And he went to high school with my mother.
Get out.
Yeah. And dated my mother's friend.
Dated your mother's friend. Yeah. So you have all the inside.
And he was weird as an old guy, so I don't know how he was when he was. I think my mother's friend was weird too. Okay.
Perfect.
So that's how Jennifer and I originally met. Mm-hmm. Then I invented the Zlide neck, and I'm like, I got to get Jennifer to do an ad. By the way, anyone who knows my history, I kind of used girls in ads years ago, which we're going to talk about in a future podcast, because I think I have Sherry, the girl in the water girl, coming in to do a podcast. The famous V. Dean ad, Girl in the Water ad, Sherry Shattuck, who was the model, she's kind of agreed to come in. So
I'm stoked to see her, meet her, get to know her, hear her story. And I want to hear how you guys met. I know you kind of told me briefly, so I'm looking forward to, we'll save that for when she gets here. Right. But I'm super stoked to hear that whole story. So
anyways, I did and these were the newer generations. You couldn't really do girls holding products was really not cool, because girls are equal. Not that they weren't equal back then, but they're,
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
For sure.
And but I did it very classy, where she was just holding it, and a few people chimed in and said she's holding it the wrong way because she's literally showing the Zlide neck.
Right.
Which is backwards.
I know.
And I said, this chick can play guitar. Okay. So anytime anybody chimed in and said something asinine, I set them straight personally.
Well, talk to me about the Zlide. So when you, because I remember when we were going to shoot those photos and you said to flip it over, even I was kind of thinking like, oh, but the whole point was to feature the neck, right?
Right.
And so can you talk to me kind of about what your thought process was when you were designing that neck, and what's the difference between, for people that maybe aren't guitar players or aren't super familiar with the guitar neck, like what set that apart from guitars in the past, and what made it so innovative?
Well, the whole thing, that was the impetus of this company, was the Zlide neck. And it's all about reduced friction. And actually, I did a podcast on this, which hasn't been released yet. So we're only going to go so deep into this because it might be released. But it's basically reduce the surface area of a neck to give it a whole new feel.
Okay.
And it's not just, first of all, it's Zlide. It glides because you're only touching 28% of the neck. The rest is air. Okay. We take with a laser process, we take 72% of the surface of the neck out of the equation. But over and above being a more easy gliding, less sticky neck, it also has other cool features because it's just a whole different feel. It's not like sanding a neck or painting it satin. It's just a whole new feel. And it's been very successful for my company, for this brand, and every guitar we ship has a Z-Glide neck.
And also, is your line of guitars, is, as far as I'm aware, the only guitar that's doing that, correct? Like, has anyone else tried to replicate that since you guys released it, or has it been exclusively just your company?
Luckily not, because I have a patent.
Oh, nice. Okay, that'll do it.
I have to add one more thing to this,
Sure.
not to the Z-Glide, but to our relationship.
Yeah.
Not a relationship, but our
friendship.
Friendship, yeah. Later, I have a guitar factory, and attached in the same building, Billy Corgan has a studio. And he had a studio manager, and the studio manager came over one day to meet me when Corgan built the studio, and it was Jennifer's father.
It was my dad. Yeah. I couldn't believe that. And actually today on the drive here, I called my dad and I was like, I want to know, what was the story of how you and Dean had met up? Because he had mentioned it to me before.
Right.
And he had said that he would go over there and have coffee with you. And I didn't even realize that you guys were having coffee and hanging out, but that's so rad.
Yeah, he was. And Billy Corgan never came to my studio. I mean, to my factory.
He never came?
No, I've been to a studio a handful of times. And literally, if I took out the garbage and Billy Corgan took out the garbage at the same time, we would have to see each other because we shared a loading dock.
Oh my gosh, did that happen?
I rarely took out garbage, and I would assume to say Billy Corgan never took out garbage. But he also lives in my town, and I've subsequently have hung with Billy Corgan a bit.
Okay.
And I don't know if the studios there, our factories, moved on. So that
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I don't think that studio's there either.
Yeah, but so cool that all those years later, because I mean, you met me when I was 19, and how many years later was that? Like
a million
years later.
But what happened? Everything in my life, I say this in just about every podcast, that has these weird connections.
Yeah.
And I literally meet you somewhere I've never been before at a cage match, and then later, your father's like sharing the back, the loading dock door and coming over and stuff.
So serendipitous. And even like, it's not like I was setting out to be a ring girl. It was like I went to a fight with my dad and like my high school boyfriend at the time, and my dad was like, you should get up there and do that.
Right.
And then next thing I knew, I was in the ring, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess that's a thing. Right. It's not like I was trying to become a ring girl. Like, it was something I did for fun, and then I happened to meet you there.
Right.
It was just so random.
Okay,
awesome.
so here we are X amount of years later on the podcast. So let's just, what's the subject today? What are we talking about?
So today we're going to talk about the first time that you went to the Playboy Mansion.
Exactly.
That is news to me. I did not know that you had been to the Playboy Mansion.
What else didn't you know?
I also didn't know that your wife is a Playboy centerfold, or was a Playboy centerfold.
Well, Susie says always a Playboy. Once always, yeah.
So those are two things I learned about you today.
There's not that many Playboy centerfolds, because there's only 12 a year, and Playboy was 50 years old or something. So
yeah,
the number's like well under 1,000.
I never thought about that.
Yeah.
She's iconic, by the way. I love your wife. She's
that's
absolutely iconic.
Cool. Everyone loves Susie.
I would like to know about your first trip to the Playboy Mansion. Okay. How did you go there? Why were you there? Did you meet Susie there? I have so many questions.
No, I met Susie years ago, and I met Susie. I hired her. She's a Chicago model.
Okay.
I hired her to model for me, and we'll do a whole thing about Susie, meeting Susie, and that whole thing.
I can't wait for that.
Okay.
But for now, let's hear about the Playboy Mansion.
Okay, so we're out in L.A. I think I was at a NAMM show, as a matter of fact. And, we just planned we're going to go to the Playboy Mansion. Now, something about, I was not married to Susie at the time. And something about, playmates are not allowed to bring their boyfriends. When you go to the Playboy Mansion, you see their boyfriends dropping them off at the gate, and then the girls go in.
Okay.
So how did I get in?
Right.
Ask me.
How did you get into the Playboy Mansion?
My celebrity.
Your celebrity.
No, Susie called up and said, can my boyfriend come? And boyfriends aren't allowed. She goes, well, my boyfriend makes guitars, and he made ZZ Top's guitars, and da-da-da. And then they realized they can let me in.
So you had a pass.
I had a pass.
You had a very unique pass in the Playboy Mansion.
My guitar building got me into the Playboy Mansion.
Okay.
So we finished the NAMM show. I don't know, maybe had a car, but we pull up went to the Playboy Mansion.
Okay. I didn't realize. Is there more than? Is there only one iconic?
Yes.
Yes, there's only one, and it's in California.
It was originally in Chicago.
That's what I was going to ask, because I had heard that there was one in Chicago years ago.
Hefner meets a girl named Barbie Benton. Barbie Benton was from Santa Barbara, or that part of the West Coast.
Yeah.
And she eventually coaxed him into opening up the West Coast Mansion.
Okay.
And then they eventually closed the Playboy Mansion in Chicago. The headquarters was still in Chicago.
Okay.
But then Playboy headquarters was still in Chicago, but they had the West Coast. So he was by what do you call that? Sexual.
Was he?
No. Well, hold on. I
was like, hold on.
That is part of the story, okay?
Oh.
Okay, so
Tell us how you actually got into the Playboy Mansion.
No, that's not how I got
kidding.
in. Okay. Okay. So, no, bi-coastal, but it's not really the coast, Chicago. And anyways, they were running out there.
Okay.
Okay. So I went to the mansion. Okay. And I'm walking to the mansion. Well, I'm walking up.
Okay.
And I will tell you, there's 2 times I could walk into any meeting with any high-level dude and improvise and be comfortable all my life, okay? When I was a little kid, when I grew up, da-da-da. 2 times in my life, I was like, holy shit.
You're telling me walking up to the Playboy Mansion was one of those times?
Yes.
Why? Because it was just so iconic? Or
well, we have to circle back, but I'm going to tell you. Okay. Maybe we'll talk about this part and then we'll circle back. Okay. But you grow up with this iconic place that you can't touch.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And the girls and the magazine and and the clubs. I mean, back then, Playboy was a thing.
Oh yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm like here.
Right.
And I'm like losing it, like
super surreal. I'm sure.
Yeah, it was just one of my 2 most surreal experiences in my life, which got shattered as the night went on.
Oh. Okay. Shattered in a good way or shattered in
probably a bad way?
Okay.
Okay. Which we'll talk.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
What was the other time?
When I met Michael Jordan.
When you met Michael Jordan.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Okay. And the Michael Jordan story is a little different because I was out of the guitar business. I'm in the furniture business.
Oh, okay.
Now, Michael Jordan lived always a block away from me.
Interesting.
Literally a block from here. When he was winning all those championships.
Really? He
was living a block away. He'd drive through the neighborhood and you'd see Michael Jordan. Oh. But now I'm building furniture. And I'm working with this designer. And, she has me quoting on these really elaborate things that I had to design and build.
Yeah.
And she never told me who it was for, because as soon as she says, this is from Michael Jordan, people jack the price. But anyway, I bid on all the stuff.
They were getting a good deal from you.
But so she wants you to bid before you know it's Michael Jordan. So I bid on the stuff, I got the stuff, and it's Michael Jordan.
Wow.
Okay, and this is, God, what year? He was playing championships, but he was moving into his new house. I was building furniture for his new house, and I had to go measure his TV.
Okay.
Because nothing. TVs back then were like giant.
Oh yeah, they were so thick.
Yeah, and you built them into a cabinet for one of these rooms. And I also built this really cool surround that went around this very, kind of modern couch.
Okay.
But so I have to measure the components going into this unit.
Okay.
By the way, I might tell people this. I spent a few years in the custom furniture business.
Well, I was just going to say, may I also comment on the fact that another thing I learned about you today was that you designed this house that we're in.
Yes.
Which I did not realize that. This house is so fabulous. I mean, it's really unique. And
you could say it's fucking cool. I know where you were going.
I was going to, but then I promised that I wouldn't say fuck. So I decided that I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
But I wanted to.
Okay. So it wasn't so weird meeting him.
Yeah.
It was weird, but Okay, so I'm in his basement. I got let in by his housekeeper.
So you're just in Michael Jordan's basement.
And the designer I was with was like, we're in the basement because all the stuff was kind of stored in the basement.
Right.
And the design, and it wasn't finished. It was really crude, like just a basement full of the Michael Jordan stuff. Mm-hmm. And the designer was around the corner. Mm-hmm. And I was let in the house and Michael wasn't home. Mm-hmm. Never met him, never was introduced.
Right.
All of a sudden I hear footsteps coming. And this is kind of like, real basement. So the stairs kind of have like a hidden, and then there's like a reveal.
Right.
And all of a sudden I see these giant feet. Oh, the feet come first.
Naturally.
And I see these giant feet coming down. I'm like, holy shit, it's Michael Jordan. And I don't know which Batman movie it was, but it's all of a sudden, Batman shows up and the guy's like, it's the Bat.
Like you're just like, oh.
I'm sure I had that same exact look on my face.
Yeah.
And I shake his hand and it was weird. And I'm like, hi, I'm here to measure your shit.
Right. Hello, don't mind me.
Okay. Your TV. And he shakes hands with me and his fingers like go up to my wrist.
I was gonna say how tall, like how much taller was he?
He had a duck. He had a duck under the header,
Yeah.
because it's a basement base. It wasn't like like a modern. It was wasn't a real modern day house where everything's got
Right.
10. Like my basement's got 10-foot ceilings.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Okay, so I shake hands with him, and we talked about the TV set.
Okay.
Okay, but it was just a surreal moment. And I was like, whoa,
Were you just like, all right, see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Well,
I'll go get to work on that.
we talked about the TV. The designer eventually knew Michael was there and came around the corner and everything was fine. But
Yeah.
2 times in my life, I kind of lost my bearings of, of being Dean.
And the second being walking up to the Playboy Mansion.
Well, that was probably the first, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, the order.
The other
maybe.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So tell me about that one.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about Playboy because the setup is growing up in my generation, Playboy was the thing. We didn't have internet. We didn't have porn. We didn't have, everything was obscure. Mm-hmm. But all the most beautiful girls on earth were not on Instagram. They were on in the Playboy magazine. Mm-hmm. My father, being a Chicago executive, flying his own airplane, all this stuff, he was one of those guys, like when I went down to work with my father, he went to the Ivanhoe restaurant and they had a table waiting for him at lunchtime, executive type stuff. Mm-hmm. And he had a key to the Playboy Club.
Really?
So there's a Playboy Club in Chicago, there's a Playboy Club.
Right.
And looking back, it was all kind of cheesy.
But at the time, it was just so iconic.
And the Playboy Resort was in Wisconsin, which was like a 20-minute plane ride.
I don't think I knew about the Playboy Resort. That's
now
news
it's
to
the
me.
Americana in Lake Geneva.
Okay.
But it was originally built with the Playboy Resort. And when people own airplanes, they like to find short little jaunts they can do so they can play with their plane, but they don't eat up like $10,000 worth of gas. Okay.
Okay.
So in those days, it was probably $100 worth of gas or whatever.
Right.
This was the 60s.
Right.
But we would fly to the Playboy Resort. So Playboy was kind of enshrined in my life.
Okay.
Not enshrined, it was just a thing.
Yeah, you knew about it. And
People our generation, guys, that was it. Okay. Mm-hmm. My brother was much younger, and my father would say, we're going to see the bunnies. Mm-hmm. And he really thought we were going to go see bunnies. The Playmates were in the magazine. The girls who served at the clubs were called bunnies.
Right.
Okay. And don't ever call a Playmate a bunny because that's like calling, they don't like that.
Because it's just a different category within it.
Right. It's really hard to get in the magazine. It wasn't so hard to
be a waitress.
Be a bunny. Well, I don't want to. The waitresses are great. It's a great profession. I don't go to restaurants much, but when I do, I really appreciate them. Mm-hmm. And waiters, too.
But you couldn't be a bunny, though.
No, you got to be a dude. No, you got to be a chick. Dudes can't be. Okay, a little podcast.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I'm just telling you that now that's the setup. So when you go to the Playboy Mansion, you kind of lose your shit because of this whole history. Okay,
right.
So I'm like 20, mid-20s.
Okay.
Or no, 27, 20, somewhere there, way before 30. And I'm walking to the Playboy Mansion.
Yeah.
And it was an evening, and what was going on there was it was like movie night.
Okay.
And Oliverstone was there,
Okay.
and going to watch the movie Platoon, and it was new.
Okay.
You know about Platoon?
I do not know.
It was a major Vietnam movie and all that. So, and
Okay.
Oliver Stone is a major dude.
So it was just going to be a screening of it, or?
Well, they have movie night,
Okay.
and he, of course, Hugh Hefner has celebrities at his place all the time. You know, that's how, you know. The second time I went to the Playboy Mansion, it was a big party.
Yeah.
And everybody was there. I mean, major actors.
Mm-hmm.
I met Kato Kalin from OJ days, Bill Maher,
Yeah.
you know, Scott, the guy, what's his name? Green, Seth Green. Do you know who he is?
Seth Green, like from the 90s,
Yeah, that kid.
the actor.
Yeah, the actor.
Yes, I remember Seth Green.
I hung with Seth Green. Anyways, that's for the second podcast. So now I'm walking in the Playboy Mansion and meeting Playboy people.
I have a question.
Yes.
What does it smell like in there? Does it smell good? Does it smell clean?
I don't remember the smell, but I will tell
How can
you.
you not? That's the first thing I would think of.
Because I'm a dude.
I'm just like, does it smell fresh? Does it smell?
I tell you, one of the things I noticed about the Playboy Mansion was very tired.
It was tired?
Yeah, like an old place that hadn't been kept up very well.
Okay.
Okay, the rugs, but that house was a party house, okay?
Right.
The way it rolled is they had people who managed the main floor and the what do you call it? The yard, the
Landscaping?
They had a zoo. They had they managed the property, okay?
Okay.
And then Hefner lived upstairs, and that's where all the action would go on. But he would so there's a party going on at his house pretty much 24/7. He wants to join the party, comes downstairs. He's done with the party, goes up. But that's how the magazine got entree to all these celebrities because they were in his house. If you needed an interview, you needed something was coming, and it was a two-way street because they needed exposure in the magazine too. You know, the magazine would write up these things. So it's just the way it rolled back in the days.
Is it very like hush hush, like what happens in the mansion stays in the mansion?
I don't know.
Or at that time, was it kind of just like, you know what you're getting yourself into? You're walking in. You're held responsible for your actions.
Okay, I was there on a semi-quiet night, okay?
Okay.
There was not like a lot of partying or anything going on, so it was kind of subdued. And there's only a handful of actors around,
Yeah.
And then I end up at a dinner table with some people.
Okay.
Hefner's dude and that.
Okay, so you said that when you got into the mansion, you met all these celebrities, and as the night went on, the night degraded. So who did you meet and what happened? And can you tell me a little bit about your evening, your experience from walking in and when it went awry?
Yes.
Please.
Okay.
Tell all of us.
Well, the two celebrities that most stuck out in my mind, and like I said, this was a smaller night because Oliverstone was doing the screening, but it just wasn't, it's just like another night. It was like a Tuesday or whatever.
I was just going to say, was it a Tuesday?
Yeah, it wasn't. Because the NAMM show always ended on Sunday, so this could have been a Monday or Tuesday, maybe even Sunday night, but it was, it wasn't a big party night, okay?
Okay.
So I go in there, and you got to know, I don't know actors.
Yeah.
I don't know people, okay? Like, I could watch a whole movie and not realize who I saw, okay?
Right.
And I always have to ask Susie.
Yeah.
And now, it's not like I don't know, like if I know, like I know, like I was really into James Bond, okay? So I would know Roger Moore. Okay, but I wasn't into a lot of movies and stuff, so I didn't know these guys. And I actually met Roger Moore.
At the Playboy Mansion?
No, I met him in my building, 666 Lakeshore Drive.
Oh, really?
Did you know I used to live at 666 Lakeshore Drive?
I did not know that.
Which became 680 Lakeshore Drive.
Okay, I did not know that. But you met him, he lived there as well?
No, he was shooting a movie.
Oh, okay.
But you know why they changed the name to 680 Lakeshore Drive?
Why?
Because Playboy moved their offices into the building.
Okay.
And they couldn't be in a building with the title 666.
Oh, really?
So they changed the address. And
so you're there.
And I used to live there, and you had a doorman. It was kind of a fancy building. This was in the heyday of Deanguitars.
Living the dream, right?
On Lakeshore Drive, yeah. And Roger Moore was filming a movie called The Naked Face with Art Carney, who was also one of my favorite guys because I watched. You're not even gonna know who the Honeymooners was, but
I think I've heard of that.
Okay, so I tend to do podcasts with people half my age. So
this is good. You can just tell me everything and let me know all the things. Give us all the stories.
Well, so they're filming a movie, and one day I'm I'm, you had to your doorman let you in. Mm-hmm. And I'm there, Roger Moore. I think he was living there during the filming. Mm-hmm. Roger Moore and I show up at the doorman at the exact same time. And my doorman introduced me to Roger Moore and Roger Moore to me. Mm-hmm. And I got in the elevator and I'm riding up the elevator with Roger Moore.
Did you say anything to him?
Yeah, I did, but unfortunately, I only lived on the 6th floor. I didn't have a long ride.
Yeah. You were like, what is it, the elevator pitch? You have a real quick time to say, hey. What did you say to him?
I just turned to him and I said, hard to believe all this high-level spy shit's going on right in my building.
What did he say? That's actually hilarious.
He laughed, the door opened, and I walked out. And that
That's
was my encounter with Roger Moore.
Okay, so then you met the other Bond actor then at the Playboy Mansion.
Which Bond actor? Seth Green?
I thought that you said that you met a second actor.
No, I had met other actors. I just said I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know actors unless I knew them because I was into the movie.
Oh, I understand. So who did you meet?
And I was really into
Mansion?
James Bond. I was trying to live like James Bond back in the day.
Okay, so what does that mean?
That means I wanted to have a lot of cool gadgets, and I was
Okay.
like there was a thing called Sharper Image.
I remember Sharper Image.
And they would like when James Bond movie was coming out, they would have a lot of cool shit in there, and it was all Bond stuff.
They did have cool shit in there. It felt very futuristic at the time.
Yeah, and my apartment in the days was all black with black. I built my own furniture, and it was really high tech, and
Cool.
I had projection TV, You had to buy. There's no such thing as TVs. You had projection TVs.
Yeah.
But mine was built. I built it into a console with all the stereo equipment built in, and they had this really cool phone in the Sharper Image catalog.
Okay.
And it was $700. But literally, you could take this in a briefcase like James Bond and plug it in anywhere, and you had your whole it was kind of like an iPhone.
Did you get it?
So I'm not paying $700 for a phone, but
Okay.
I want the phone.
Did you make it yourself?
No, you know what I could. No, you know what I did? I did what I always did when I wanted something that was, I don't want to say out of my price range, but I didn't want to spend the money that. I call up the company and I say, does the owner play guitar?
You traded a guitar?
And the owner played guitar and I traded him a guitar.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I got the phone.
Okay.
So
you are a young James Bond and you're showing up at the Playboy Mansion.
I was living the James Bond life. I just didn't have all the spy gear and.
I feel like Playboy Mansion Arrival is right on brand with James Bond vibes.
So anyways, I'm there. There's a couple actors there. There's one dude kind of propped up with some weird looking, he's wearing like an ascot thing going on. And I'm like,
okay.
Susie, who's that?
Susie, who's that?
And she says, it's Tonycurtis.
Okay.
I'm like, whoa, and I don't know any movies Tonycurtis has been in, but I know he's a big actor.
Yeah.
So that was kind of weird. And then I end up in this room. It's kind of like not the dining room, but it's like a dining room, and it's got a table.
Okay.
And there's a dude sitting there, and there's a couple chicks, and this guy's trying to impress these chicks.
Who was it?
Jamescaan. But once again, I had to ask Susie, who's this dude?
Susie.
And she goes,
Susie is just telling you all the secrets over your shoulder.
Okay, so I know he had a big movie named Thief. He was in The Godfather. Big dude, okay?
Yeah.
And he's doing he's literally name dropping. I'm watching this thing kind of I'm kind of at the same table, but I'm a little ways away. And he's name dropping, and he's trying to pick up these chicks, and he's been in the biggest movies to date, and he's doing all this shit trying to pick up these girls and name dropping.
They does not know who he is.
No, they knew who he was, but he felt the need to be name dropping stuff. So the conversation's going. I'm looking at this guy, and I'm kind of thinking this guy's kind of douchey, Next thing you know, he starts doing karate kicks. He literally jumps out of I think he's a black belt, I think I read later. But he's getting out of his seat, and he does this big karate. Now I'm a karate guy, so I knew that shit.
I didn't know that. Are you a black belt?
Well, I was 1 degree away from, I'm one belt away from a black belt.
Can you pick up and finish and still become a black belt? Is there still time? I couldn't pick up my leg. When I was 18, I could kick a guy 6'5" in the face. That's impressive. And
you did it with a flying sidekick, but now I'd have to go for the knee.
What about then when he got up and started doing karate kicks? Were you
I could have done them, but I didn't. No,
you didn't.
But
I'm show him up, okay. Right?
But now I'm looking at him what the fuck's the matter with you, dude? Okay.
Okay.
And he's kind of looking at me, and I'm making a face there's something wrong with this guy. So next thing you do, he's he's like, he'll be talking, then he jumps out of his chair and he jumps out of his chair and does a karate move. Then he's like looking to me for approval. It was like really bizarre.
That is bizarre. Did you give him the approval?
No.
So you just left him standing there with the karate moves, just like desperate for approval?
Yeah. So you got to know, this is like
This
a
poor
night
guy.
of weird shit. Okay. And this is
Yeah.
just like one thing.
I was going to say, this sounds like an intro to a lot of weird
So
stuff.
as the night goes on, I'm like hanging with people, and it's just like, I'm getting like a worse, opinion, whatever. So that was pretty much the James. I don't know if he ever got the girls or not, but I think this was in the cocaine. I know it was in the cocaine days.
Right.
And all I could hope is that he was just high on coke or whatever, So, like this guy's doing karate kicks and trying to pick up girls. Tonycurtis is just sitting there like posing. It was just a little weird.
So
okay?
bizarre.
Okay, so then I end up at a dining table.
What time is all this happening at on a Tuesday?
You know what? I don't remember.
Are we thinking like 9 p.m. or like 4 in the morning?
I think it was before the movie.
Before shit got weird. Like, so it was weird.
Okay, this
before
was
it
not
got
a party.
weird.
This was just like, okay, I'm hanging at the mansion and I'm like, meeting people.
On a regular night, it was like
on
a
a night.
non-party, but
Right,
there was karate happening.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm curious what a crazy night is like.
I'm
there.
wondering why I didn't just get up and get in a fight with the dude.
Well, I mean, you know that he's a black belt.
Right.
And you were 1 degree away. But you still think you could have beat him.
I had a fighting chance.
The girls would have been entertained,
Although,
that's for sure.
Maybe it was on like meth or something and you couldn't kill him.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Okay, so the night progresses and I end up at a dining table. I don't know if we're eating or not, but there's like all these people around the dining table. And
I was
it's
wondering
me.
that. Are
I
there
think
drinks
Susie was
happening? Or no?
my memory's a little skewed, okay? Yeah, people are drinking. People, at the Playboy Mansion, and Susie, like you go there, everything's just like free, and they have butlers, and you just order, and everyone's taken care of. I don't know what the tab must have cost them every day to entertain everybody, but they had a kitchen and chefs and all the stuff, and if you wanted something, you just said you wanted it and showed up.
Yeah.
It was a thing. So I was a vegetarian back then. I don't know if I was eating.
Did you tell them that when you ordered? Were you very persistent in saying, thank you so much, but I'm actually a vegetarian. Can you guys go whip up something a little more in my alley?
I don't remember eating. The night was so bizarre.
I don't remember eating. All I remember are the karate kicks.
Right. So I'm sitting at the table, and there's a dude next to me, and he's got this green warm-up get-up, and it says Celtics. He's like, now, I knew nothing about basketball at the time because this was before Michael Jordan, was a big star.
Mm-hmm. Before you made his furniture.
I think, yeah. Anyways, I was not into basketball, but I knew what the Celtics were.
Right.
So, why is this guy wearing the Celtics get-up? So I turn to him and say, hey, you on the Celtics?
Oh my gosh, just casual Tuesday conversation.
Right. And you know what he says? No, but my best friend is. My best friend is blah, blah, blah. And he says, he might have said Larry Bird. I don't remember.
Right.
I don't remember. But whoever the name had no meaning to me because I was not into basketball.
Yeah.
Anyways, but, once again, some pretentious asshole,
But was wearing...
Who wears the setup, so people will ask him, why are you wearing that? And he could tell them who his best friend is. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And then it gets a little worse.
Worse than that.
I'm sitting with this guy and I'm like, what do you do?
Just another person. This is just
another dude, yeah, with glasses on.
Okay.
What do you do? Oh, I'm Hef's personal physician.
Physician?
Doctor, yeah.
Okay. Interesting person to be hanging out.
So, and then he proceeds to tell me, but I pick my patients. Okay, now how more pretentious can you fucking get than being a doctor who's so arrogant that he picks his patients, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I said,
I'm wondering, is that legal? I don't think that's legal anymore.
What do they call it? The Hippocratic Oath or the Hypocritical Oath or something like that they have to take to treat everybody?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're in a Playboy Mansion. It's a long time ago. There's not really this strict of rules. I feel like there's rules about no boyfriends in the mansion, but there's not rules about being a doctor, I'm guessing.
Well,
mansion.
I told you that there's more to the story, so we'll get on.
So yeah, let's hear about
it.
it.
So I'm talking about, I find out more about the doctor decades later, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sitting with this doctor dude.
All right.
And he immediately, he didn't waste any time to say, I'm Hef's personal physician, but I select all my patients, okay? So he doesn't know me, but he's got to brag about that.
Yeah. Did you ask him who else are your patients?
Yeah. So I say, rattle, who are your patients? So he rattles off this short list of celebrities, probably all people hang at the man. And then he says, Michael Jackson.
Okay.
And I'm like, whoa. I said, hey, maybe you can tell us when his voice is going to come down. And he literally says, never.
Oh, my gosh.
Because that's all I can think about is maybe he's got a medical problem that he has such a high voice,
Mm-hmm. So how did the night get?
Okay, so then after this whole little scenario, he turns to Susie, pulls out a card, and he says, but I also own a modeling agency.
Oh, okay. Part-time doctor, part-time modeling agency owner.
Okay, so the story goes, I'm a doctor, I pick my own patients, but I also want to get laid, so I have a modeling agency.
He said that?
Yeah. Well, he didn't say I want to get laid, but that's I'm reading between the lines.
Okay, understood.
I'm really good at that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm learning. Okay, so then he turns to Susie, who's looking very hot and very decked out. And he said, when Susie says, I own a modeling agency, he pulls out a card and he hands it to Susie.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So I don't care. I'm married to a Playboy centerfold. You're kind of used to guys hitting on her, right? Mm-hmm. So anyways, he's talking to her, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, the conversation's getting a little heavy, heavier.
I don't know.
Well, just like he's working my girlfriend.
Oh. Okay.
Not heavy, but he's working my girlfriend, which, like I said, I'm not, but he kind of crossed a line.
And you guys weren't married yet at the time,
No,
right?
but she was my girlfriend.
She's your girlfriend.
And I knew karate.
And you knew karate.
And I had Jamescaan in the next room.
Right.
Maybe would have backed me up. I don't know.
I honestly think he would have.
Okay.
Mostly because he wanted the attention from the girls, but...
And he wanted my approval.
He did want your approval, and you didn't give it to him, so he'd be like, that's it, I'm here.
I'm here, yeah, okay.
My moment is now.
So he pulls out, anyways, he's crossing a line, which I just felt was like, a little weird. So I give him a weird look, like, hey, dude. And he turns to me and says, don't worry, I got a girlfriend.
Okay.
And I said... Yeah, I get it. I had a girlfriend when I met her, too. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, my God. Savage.
Which I didn't. I was actually in between girlfriends, but I knew how to pull out a good line, yeah.
Those are good lines.
So anyhow, that was kind of like the weirdness that really stands out in my mind. Mm-hmm. Once again, you get there. And when I went to the big party for the 50th anniversary, it was just way more pretentious assholes, okay? Which we're not going to talk about today. But then we have...
Is that the second time you went?
The second time I went.
So you went multiple times after this?
Only, it was so nauseating, I had no interest to go.
How many times did you go?
I think only maybe 3 times. One time we brought our kids there.
Oh, that's a good family trip.
Yeah, it was our kids and our friends. We were driving up the coast and we said, let's stop at the Playboy Mansion.
Oh, my gosh.
We got pictures of the kids in the grotto and...
Nice.
The grotto for
family Christmas card.
The grotto for people your age.
Holiday card, whatever.
The grotto for people your age. He had this kind of amazing pool with a hot tub and a cave and stuff like that, and that was the grotto. And yeah. So then it's movie night, and I'm watching, and Oliverstone. Hefner's there. Mm-hmm. By the way, I was very unimpressed with Hefner.
Why is that?
He flitted around the place in a bathrobe. And he just...
How old was he at the time when you were there? Like what?
I think it was $1.5 million. He died at $1 million.
He died?
He was old. I don't know. God, he died in his probably 80s, not so many years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it was my age.
I know there was a documentary that recently, a few years back, came out about Hugh Hefner. I never watched it.
You're talking about the series.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's where I meet the doctor again.
Okay, really? Yeah. So I had seen that, like an advertisement for that, but I never watched it. But I was kind of curious, and I was curious, did he actually wear the robe all the time, and was he really like that?
When I saw him, I think 2 times that I saw him, he was in his robe.
Does it have is it a signature color? It's the red, right?
It's usually maroon, I think.
Maroon, yeah, maroon.
We could bring Susie on, with the black. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, something.
You were unimpressed.
Something about him, he still looked like, and by the way, I never saw Playboy was pornography, but he looked like a pornographer. You know?
Well,
Okay. He looked like
he just looked like didn't look like a businessman when you met him.
He just looked like a pornographer. I think the impression I got from him, from meeting him and seeing him, was somebody told him years ago, you know, just stay in that place and don't come out in public too much. You'll do okay. So,
was he wearing slippers? Or was he just barefoot?
No, I think he was wearing slippers.
Okay, I'm just curious. Picturing the whole thing.
So we do the we watched the movie Platoon, which is a really heavy Vietnam movie. And,
I have not seen it.
And Oliverstone, I think, was in Vietnam. And we watched the movie. It was intense, and I was like kind of in and out of the room. But you know, there's some real bloody scenes in that thing. And by the end of the night, Oliverstone was falling down drunk. I mean, we were walking, and he like just hit the floor. Which only mentioning this because the next time I was at the Playboy Mansion at this big party, he also got falling down drunk and went down on the floor.
Oh my gosh, they should have made you sign an NDA. You're revealing all the secrets of the mansion.
Well, it's interesting because my wife, Susie, tells me don't dog people because they're not going to come on your podcast. And
but they make them want to defend themselves. They'd be like, look, I wasn't that drunk. I just tripped.
Right,
you know?
Right. But I'm relatively sure that Oliverstone is not going to appear on my podcast. Okay.
He might.
But I do have a connection to Oliverstone because the band Kansas played my guitars. Most of their career. Kerry Livgren of Kansas was the first rock star ever to play my guitar, and I think a podcast or two ago we talked about he bought the first Dean guitar ever. And his manager was a guy named Bud Carr, who was a really good guy, who I knew because I had to do business with the band. And Bud Carr, when he finished being Kansas's manager, he went on to be a music director for movies. And he did all the, he was friends with Oliver Stone and did all the Oliver Stone.
Okay.
So any Oliver Stone movie that you see, it'll say music director Bud Carr.
Okay, got you.
So that's my connection to Oliver Stone.
But you saw him stumbling around twice at the Playboy Mansion.
Right. Everything in my life is not 60 degrees of separation. It's about 2.
I feel that.
Yeah. Okay.
The
so that
was a lot
was
smaller than you realize.
What was that?
I said the world's a lot smaller than you realize.
It's micro.
I mean, even you going to work one day and meeting my dad, it's so random.
I know, my whole life.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
So random.
I know. It's
So what happened after that? Anything notable, super strange?
You
see him stumbling down. You guys finished the movie.
They have a lot of private rooms at the mansion.
Yes.
I can't tell you anymore.
Okay, you can't tell anymore.
No, my kids watch this.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Keep it kid safe. Only bring the kids there for vacation photos, but don't bring them into the rooms.
Well, they're older now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, there's a guest house, and you go out and they have a zoo, like with monkeys and birds and stuff. So you go out and see that, and you play games in the guest house, and that was kind of it. And
yeah.
So that's where I met Seth Green in the guest house.
And it's a 24-hour experience. Like it's never like closed. The Playboy Mansion.
I don't know. I go home at like 2 a.m. or something. So
like
I don't know.
Responsible.
My
Playboy
cue
visitor.
When Oliver Stone falls down, I go home.
That's your cue to go. All right, that's enough.
But I got yelled at by Martin Landau, and there were some others.
For what?
We'll save it.
Oh, okay. Save that for next time.
For not knowing who actors are. I got penalized. So I mentioned the doctor, the pretentious asshole, weird doctor, right?
Yeah, just hanging out.
Okay, so I'm at the Playboy Mansion decades ago, and that's the last I heard the doctor. But I've told the story a million times because I just thought it was like a thing, you know. Anyways, a year or two ago, this series comes out about Hefner, and it's really a lot about the dirt.
Of course.
And it was a lot of dirt. And I watched the series of like 8-10 episodes.
Yeah.
But one of the people they interviewed, there was some scorned playmates that claim they were raped and stuff, and I don't deny it. I mean, I don't doubt it. That they're telling the truth. And then this one girl was the doctor's daughter.
Okay. Was she a playmate?
No, she was interviewed.
Oh.
And the doctor, and the story goes, the doctor lived in the mansion.
Okay.
And she lived in the mansion.
Okay.
And she claimed that Hefner put the moves on her, and she did Hefner. The daughter of his best friend. And it was just really, what do you call it? When I said I got a bad vibe,
yeah,
and then I saw the documentary,
yeah,
it kind of like was
solidified what you felt.
Yeah, and the magazine was great. The magazine's a magazine. I'm just saying
Yeah.
So, I don't want nobody from Playboy to come on my show.
They're not allowed.
Okay. So, anyways, that doctor and the daughter said that this guy that they had that they were gay lovers. Hefner and her father. And that she found this out years later, and that was the big secret.
In the documentary?
Yes.
Okay.
Like I said, it's what she said.
Yeah,
I'm just bringing it up. I met the weird doctor. Once again, sometime decades in my life.
Oh, so you didn't find this out until later on when you watched the show yourself, right?
Yeah, like 2 years ago when the show came out, yeah.
Were you shocked or?
No.
Like we said, I feel like there are no rules in the Playboy Mansion.
Another day in the life of Deanzelinsky. I met the doctor that turned out to be the weird whatever who let Hefner, it was okay for Hefner to do his daughter or whatever. And they were gay lovers. And
interesting plot twist.
Like I said, I can't confirm anything other than I watched the show and that's what they said.
Right.
So that was kind of weird.
That's pretty heavy.
Yeah. And I will say one other thing because it's pertinent. I talked about Barbie Benton got Hefner to move out to the West Coast.
Right.
Barbie Benton's brother, her real name was Barbie Klein.
Okay.
Barbie Benton was her singing stage name.
Okay.
But her real name was Barbie Klein, and Richard Klein, also known as RK, was my photographer who shot my Girl in the Water ad that became very famous.
Oh, so again, small world.
Yeah, that ad was shot by RK with Barbie Benton's brother.
Okay.
Also, I had other ties to the Playboy thing because of RK. I was also in Playboy Studios a lot.
Okay.
Because he was my friend and we would shoot ads there. Like if there was a set, a Playmate set.
Wait, that's what I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, and if it didn't get used or something, it was like a test shot, we could use this. We just get a girl, put her on set, and we shot a kind of famous ad of a girl on the bed and on a Playmate set.
When you left the mansion, did you send them a guitar and have a guitar? Like, do you have a guitar there? Did you have them put one on the wall? Or
no, that was never on my radar.
Do they have like activities for the Playmates to do or whatever? Or I don't understand whole.
If you watched the documentary, it looked like they had some activities for Playmates to do.
Did they have a guitar activity?
No guitars.
You should provide them with a guitar.
I didn't think of that. Maybe it would change the whole. Yeah, I think it's
they
all.
Could have a girl band.
Okay, it's all over. The Playboy Mansion got sold. Hefner died.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, there could have been a girl band.
Yeah.
I would have been a fan.
Right.
Maybe. So, all right.
Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about your band, but we could do that another. You're
time.
Toured in a band. Jen toured in a rock band. Okay. Metal band. Okay.
And a long time ago. Okay. Very long time ago. Okay. But so now we're getting to the part where we talked initially about doing 20 questions. We decided 20 is probably a lot. But one of the things that you had mentioned to me was that there were 2 compliments in your life that you've gotten that you never forgot that were really impactful for you. And can you tell us a little about what those compliments are and where you were when you received them?
Yeah, Michael Jordan told me I had really big hands.
Oh, did he? Okay, compliment number 1.
Okay, no. The one I met, there was probably, one compliment. One of 2, okay?
One of 2.
I'm at my booth at a NAMM show, and this was probably 15 years ago, I mean, I don't know when. I have a bad relationship with time, but I can do math, I just can't do time. So I'm at my booth, and Carrie Livgren shows up with a couple friends. Okay, and we hadn't talked or seen each other in a while and trying to have a conversation, and people keep coming up to me asking for my autograph. And I'm with the guy who wrote probably one of the biggest rock songs of all time, Carrie Livgren of Kansas. He wrote Dust in the Wind and a bunch of other hits, and they keep asking for my autograph. So after a few, we get interrupted like 4 times or something like
Yeah.
that. And Kerry turns to his friends and says, oh, I forgot to tell you. He goes, Dean's the first guitar maker that's achieved rock star status.
That's so iconic.
I thought that was a pretty cool compliment.
That's a huge compliment.
Right.
And you had mentioned that he bought your first ever guitar, which you said is coming out in another podcast sometime soon to tell that story.
He bought the first Dean guitar ever, and that's coming out.
Right.
In a future podcast that's already recorded.
Okay. I'm excited to hear that story.
Yeah.
Now, what is the second compliment that you got that's super notable for you?
Okay. Well, you got to know something about me. Like, I get a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
I have Airbnbs. We live on, I've got 500.
No, I didn't know that.
And I got a couple of Airbnbs in the city.
Okay, I'm going to go stay in one.
Okay.
I'm not going to trash it, I swear.
It's okay. We got insurance. We've been trashed more than once.
Really?
Maybe I'll tell the story about when we rented to a bunch of gangbangers and Susan and I went in there at 3 a.m. and there was guns and
no, that seems like maybe
that's good. We'll talk about that one.
All right, fine.
Okay.
We'll have an Airbnb episode because I actually have a lot of questions about that.
Okay. So so I get a lot of compliments and I'll get a lot of compliments about my guitar every day.
Mm-hmm.
But Susie and I were walking through an art fair.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just me and Susie, and we're walking, and there's like the street we had to cross, and this kind of good-looking girl was like approaching us, and she's like staring at us, and she just stopped us and said, "I like your style."
Like your outfit?
That was it.
That's the second best compliment you've ever received.
And I was like, this cute young girl saw me and Susie and just said, "I like your style."
You are totally stylish. I would agree with that.
And it just rings in my brain to this day.
That's so nice. Sometimes it's the little things that really stick with you.
I know. So, I didn't do anything.
You just were being you.
I mean, I wasn't building guitars. I wasn't,
Yeah, she just complimented you for you.
I got a compliment this morning that people stayed in one of our Airbnb. We have a rock and roll Airbnb.
Oh,
I'll show you pictures after the show.
Okay, yeah, I definitely want. And it's in Chicago.
Yeah, and it's actually been written up in what's that magazine? Time Out Chicago or Time Out?
Yeah.
As one of the top 8 Airbnbs in the city.
Oh my gosh, I want to stay there.
Yeah, you can.
That's so cool. Which neighborhood is it in?
It's probably open today. Somebody just moved out. What? In River North.
Oh, perfect.
So, but I mean, they complimented me. They said, "We love your place." You know what I mean? Whatever. So
yeah.
But
maybe we can put a link to your Airbnb in the comment section.
All they really had to say is, "I like your style."
That's so nice.
Okay,
I love that.
Moving on.
Okay, so you started building guitars when you were 19 years old, right?
I started professionally 19.
Professionally. So
I was building guitars like 16, 17, 18.
That's what I was going to ask is how old were you when you first started and what was kind of your thought process? What made you decide to start doing it? Did you have a guitar legend that you really looked up to or how did that start happening?
I don't know if this episode came out yet, but it was, we talked about the Monkees. Okay. I got into guitar because of the Monkees.
Okay.
And I wanted to be a monkey as a little kid.
Yeah. And
then I think it did come out. Yeah, my father said I'm not going to be a monkey.
You're not going to be a monkey.
Because I was going to be a businessman.
We need those too. Right. We need monkeys and we need businessmen.
But I turned out to be a guitar-making businessman.
That's amazing.
So what was the question?
So the question was, so you started when you were even younger than 19. You kind of started coming up with all these ideas. How did you originally come up with what made you pick up an instrument or the pieces and think to make your own instrument? Or did you play a guitar that you didn't feel like was quite it, or were you just sort of feeling inventive and then you kind of came up with these ideas? Like, how did it start?
Okay,
I guess
I was a guy
as a wee boy.
It's weird because I just sold a guitar to a guy.
Okay.
And he gets me on the phone. He says, "I got to talk to Dean." And he bought a guitar, but he said, "You sold me a guitar. I sold you a guitar when you were in high school." And now it's like 100 years later, and he's a lawyer, and he bought a guitar from me. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, but what I was doing is like I always said, if my parents bought me like a record player back in the day,
okay,
I would take it apart before I'd put a record on it. Just want to see how things work.
Okay.
I came from a mechanical family, and I was incredibly mechanical at a very young age. And my father died when I was 12, and I just fixed everything in the house when I was like 12, 13.
Yeah.
And we even had like an International Harvester tractor.
Wow.
Okay, that had a snowplow on the front.
Those huge
Well,
tractors.
like 10 horse, 12 horse. We lived on a half acre. It wasn't big, and I used to have I had accounts when I was like 12, 13 years old where I would cut people's grass.
Okay, so you were always a little businessman.
Right.
From the very beginning.
Right. This one lawyer guy said $10 a cutting. He said, well, I'll give you $35 a month. And by the way, some months have 5 cuttings.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Especially, I mean, as a kid, you're making 35 times what, 5? You're basically loaded as a kid.
No, $35 a month.
Oh.
He screwed me.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant every session.
So the first time I got screwed by a lawyer, I was like 12 or 13.
Gosh. All right, never mind. I thought you meant every time.
Okay, so what I was so just know.
Still exciting to have an income at that age,
right?
But.
Well, I needed I needed $7. Some months it was $7 a cutting. So.
Right.
But he was at least a lawyer and told me up front how bad he was going to screw me. So
at least he was honest.
But the thing was, this thing had this big cutter, big blades underneath.
Yeah.
And then in the wintertime, you'd have to take that off. You'd have to take that whole thing off, put the snowblower on, and then it had this big rig in the back with another 5 horsepower motor that sucked the clippings out of there and blew them into a trailer.
Yeah.
And my 13-year-old brother and I totally just did all that stuff when we were like 13 and 12 and stuff. And when the wheel bearings would go out, my mother would take us to the International Harvester dealership, and we'd talk to them, and we'd get all our parts. And so I was very mechanical.
How did you learn to do that? Did your dad teach you how to do that back in the day? Or
I have a thing which we can make a whole podcast, but it's called Born Knowing.
Born Knowing.
I knew how to build guitars.
I believe that.
Yeah, something in DNA.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I think there's something. If life works the way I think it should work, and we are in a progressive knowledge scenario, it would only make sense that your parents pick up knowledge along the way, reprogram their DNA, and pass it on to their kids.
So you just knew how to fix all this shit.
Yeah. So if you're the product of an 80-year-old dude, and your brother was the product of that guy when he was 25,
okay,
you get a different DNA.
I believe that.
I don't know if I phrased that properly, but anyways, yeah, there's some born no. I don't know how I knew how to do stuff. It just, I could do it.
And so with guitars, it was something that you just started doing and they worked. And I mean, it just worked from the very beginning. Did you ever have like a trial and error period, or was it just something that came to you and you just ran with it?
Well, you do fuck up along the way if that's what you're asking. But yeah, no, like it all came easy to me.
Okay. Did you ever name your guitars, give them specific names? Like what was the first name that you gave your guitar?
Well, I made a V. The first guitar was a V and an Explorer, but like there were improvements of Gibson guitars. So I couldn't call it an Explorer, so I called it a Z because an Explorer kind of looks like a Z shape, and my name was Dean Z. And then I named it, which everyone knows about, but the third one was named for my friend Matt Lynn, who died of cancer when we were 16, and we called it the ML. So those were my original ones, and then we just, one was like a decked out black guitar. I loved Cadillacs back in the day. I had a Cadillac limousine. I called the guitar Cadillac. Nobody had a Cadillac.
That's cool.
And I don't know, along the way, you just, one was kind of fast looking. I called it a Mach 5, Mach 7.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I don't know, you look at it and
just comes to you.
Yeah, I like names though. I don't like, numbers.
I do too. Yeah, I think the names give the guitar kind of a personality.
Right. Like people, we have, like today we have the Taglier and the Delatere and the Stradivita and the La Voce, and people call up and ask for those guitars. They're not calling up asking for this SS30T. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm like there's a thing called a Les Paul and there's a thing called a Stratocaster, and now people call up and say I want a Taglier. Or
That's really cool.
So I've been successfully able to brand not only my company, but my products. People ask for a Zlide neck. They want to ask for sidekick pickups. They ask for true tap pickups. It's pretty cool.
That is really cool. You've kind of just coined your own niche in the market, really.
And by the way, branding is a challenge.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's part of, like I always said, building guitars was not my challenge in life. It was building a brand. Yeah. And because anybody can build a guitar. Not anybody, but a ton of, to build a brand was the hurdle.
Right.
And I achieved that to some
At
degree.
rock star status.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's incredible. As far as even with for example, when you're coming up with colors for different guitars, how would you come up with colors? I mean, you mentioned the Cadillac, the car. Was there anything else that kind of influenced how you came up with colors? Did you actually sit with a palette and mix colors, or did you look at samples, or how did that work when you were picking colors for your lines?
In the early days, we were doing there was stuff done on vintage guitars that wasn't being done properly. So we were trying to recreate a vintage look a lot of times.
Yeah.
So we weren't really coming up with new finishes. We were coming up with perfecting old stuff.
Okay.
But I think I was maybe the first one to do a blueburst finish. I mean, I don't know. In the Dean guitar days, I made the blueburst relatively very popular. I think I might have been the first major brand to do a blueburst, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
And then later, you just get creative with colors, but that's not so rare in the guitar business. Everybody's like, like we just came out with a honey gold burst. I've never seen it before, but it's kind of like a honey color with a gold, and they're selling. So.
Yeah. And then what was your most popular color over the years? Can you think of one that stands out that was just always sold out? You really like this color. It hit hard with your market.
Well, guitar business is tough in that everybody wants something different.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was a PRS dealer, and he says, I can have 45, 50 PRS guitars in here. And he goes, whoever comes in for a PRS doesn't want anything. They want something different.
Yeah.
And that's kind of true with us. We make a lot of different SKUs, a lot of different models, a lot of different colors. I got to say, probably Gun Hill Blue is probably the one that we might maybe sell the most of lately.
Gun Hill Blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it's not by a huge margin. We've got probably 20, 30 colors, and they all. One guy, I want a trans black guitar, I want a black guitar, I want a white guitar, I want a cream guitar.
Yeah.
It's just the gambit.
And you've done a lot with textures as well, right?
Yeah, laser.
Yeah, it's so cool. The texture on the guitars is really neat. Obviously, you're known for building your guitars, something that you've made iconic status for yourself with. What's something about you that nobody knows that you're passionate about? What's like a secret passion of yours or something you like to do?
I wouldn't say nobody knows, but most people don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to say anything that nobody knows.
Oh, those are top secret.
No,
We can save those for another day. What's something you're passionate about besides guitars? Like
heirloom tomatoes. I grow heirloom tomatoes.
Heirloom tomatoes.
And I eat a lot. We eat a lot of heirloom tomatoes.
Okay.
But every year I grow like 200 and something plants of heirloom tomatoes.
200 plants.
200 and change.
What do you do with the tomatoes? Do you make
we
sauce?
Eat them.
I mean, obviously you eat them.
But it's sacrilegious to make sauce out of heirlooms.
So what do you do with the heirlooms? Do you
Because
slice them up and put like vinaigrette on them or anything?
Yeah, we slice them up and put salt and pepper on it and a little olive oil.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And it's amazing. But, you eat it like, whole tomato, you just slice it up.
Balsamic vinaigrette? Is that a sin?
Well, we do that too, but mostly just
Shelf olive oil.
Yeah, I can't do a caprese because I'm a vegan.
Right,
But
yeah.
in the old days, it was probably that.
Yeah. So is there a secret to growing the perfect heirloom tomato? If you grow that many, you must know the secret. Or is that something that you won't reveal because you're the top heirloom tomato grower?
I'm actually not a great heirloom grower, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, why?
Because I'm a freak and I don't like manure. Tomatoes are like 90% water.
Yeah.
So whatever goes in that ground, which could be dead fish. I mean, one of my neighbors at the community garden grows in dead fish. I can't eat a tomato that's been grown in dead fish.
Because you're vegan?
Because I just can't do it. I don't know if it's a vegan thing because everything in the ground is dead.
Right.
But I was doing worm composting for a year, and I had 30,000 worms or something.
Really?
Yeah. So, and you get maybe horse manure. It's hard to get horse manure around here. But when I go to the store and I see I buy like the mushroom compost, and it's got chicken shit in it. It's just hard to eat the tomatoes.
Yeah. So.
But I hold on. I do grow very great tomatoes.
Okay.
I don't get the yield I probably should have.
All right.
But yeah, the tomatoes are amazing. And by the way, we do make sauce because when you have too many and there's just rotting,
Right.
I give them away, whatever. But
Yeah.
and my kids, everyone comes for tomatoes, but
Okay.
and I ship some to the West Coast and a few places. But
You just grow them in your backyard?
well, we have a lot of trees here, so it's hard. Yeah, we grow some, but we only have one bed here. We have more at a community garden.
Okay, cool.
And this year I'm just gonna put them in the ground everywhere.
Just be the heirloom tomato fairy. Just plant them in people's yards.
Well, Rita, Dimebag's chick, Rita,
Yeah.
she's got a place in LA, and she calls me up one day. She's showing me these, like she's got these incredible heirloom tomatoes. She didn't even plant them. They just they blew the seeds in her yard.
Really?
Yeah, and she's away, and she comes back, and there's a bunch of heirloom tomatoes. So
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, and everybody who grows in the ground just anywhere
Yeah.
gets better tomatoes than me. So I got 250 plants. I'm just putting them anywhere.
Well, you raised a good point about them being mostly water.
Right.
And I never thought about that before, but I would imagine that the type of soil that you use and the type of water that you use would affect the taste of the tomato. Would you say that's accurate?
I don't think it affects the taste. I think it just
You don't?
it's enough to freak me out what's in it. Yeah. But anyways,
I like
to
to do
answer-
a scientific experiment with
Okay.
that.
but to answer your question, I am a heirloom tomato farmer.
Heirloom tomato farmer.
Yeah.
I was going to say enthusiast, but I like
Right.
farmer. It sounds very
So
official.
when I retire from guitars, which could be sooner than later,
Yeah, right. You love it.
I'm going to just grow heirloom tomatoes and do podcasts.
Will you wear a cowboy hat like the one that you were wearing when I met you?
I've got it. I'll show it before you leave.
Do you have like a specific hat for just when you farm tomatoes?
You know, I retired that hat.
Do you wear overalls? Because I feel like that's an essential part.
One of
The
my
wardrobe is
daughters,
everything.
one of my daughters bought me this kind of bib thing that you could pick tomatoes and put them in your So
I know. I was being serious because you have to harvest them. You need your clippers. And
right. Yeah,
all the
I got a really good clippers.
Okay, that's good to know.
Right.
So, heirloom tomato farmer.
Okay, I think that's it. We'll save the rest for we can't reveal it all right
We
here.
only
now.
got 2 questions. There's no way we would have had time for 20.
Right. I have long answers to short questions.
That's all right. We like that.
Okay. Well, I think this has been awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for it's been fun.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have to talk about your rock band someday.
For sure.
Okay, we're done. Okay. Anything else you want to say? Okay. Great having you.
Great having you.
Goodbye.
Bye.